In this fifth lecture, we will find the critical path of a given data and construct the network diagram and find the critical path. Let's see a problem. The problem is this. According to this, suppose this note is already uploaded in your forum. Suppose a robot building firm planned the following project. একটা রোবট বিল্ডিং ফার্ম যেখানে তারা রোবট কনস্ট্রাক্ট করতে চাইছে ড্র দ্য নেটওয়ার্ক অ্যান্ড ফাইন্ড দ্য ক্রিটিক্যাল পাথ নেটওয়ার্ক ডায়াগ্রাম ড্র করতে বলেছে এবং ক্রিটিক্যাল পাথটা বার করতে বলেছে the স্টেপগুলো কিভাবে ডিফাইন হয়েছে the project activity immediate predecessor and the activity duration in the day it's given the question is to find the least time required to complete the project কি কি দেওয়া আছে প্রজেক্ট অ্যাক্টিভিটির ভেতরে ডিজাইন এ নিউ রোবট যার কোনো প্রিডিসেসর অ্যাক্টিভিটি নেই বিল্ড দ্য প্রোটোটাইপ ইউনিটস predecessor activity design the new robot test prototypes design predecessor activity is B estimate the material cost that is also the predecessor is design a new robot define robot design in that case the predecessor is C and D that means test prototypes and the estimate the material cost demonstrate the robot and robot to customer demonstration in that case E is the immediate predecessor that means you have to complete redefined robot design estimate the labor cost here it's the predecessor is D the estimated the material cost it's also labor cost the prepare technical proposal the predecessor is E and the deliver proposal to the customer the predecessor activity is G and H and this represent the activity completion time in day with the corresponding activity that means and the design a new robot required 20 days and build the prototype units required 10 days and so on the first we construct the network diagram we have already mentioned in our previous few lecture to construction of a network design in this lecture we also construct another network design and then we find the critical path we have already mentioned why we study the critical path so the drawing construction is first you have to recognize this one is design a new robot it's the starting activity so when we start our drawing when we start our drawing this one you can easily recognize this diagram start our robot already mentioned the required time is 20 here we mention numbering 1 the first job next after completion of this after completion of A you can start B and D according to the question when A is completed you can start B and D when A is completed you can start build prototype units and you can estimate the material cost okay exactly for that reason here we move the next step of the design this one okay this and so on exactly for that reason that is the construction of the network diagram you can already learn in your previous lecture how can I construct the design another one is a dummy activity is also mentioned here because when the D and C are the same point but they haven't any before we start E you have to complete 4 and 5 exactly for that reason here we consider a dummy activity okay that's the way of construction of the network design the question is here we want to learn the critical activity of the network diagram okay Exactly for that reason, the two different way you can find the critical activity. One is the forward pass and backward pass method. Another one is to calculate all the path and collect the greatest path to find the critical path. So here it's the general procedure you can use without any hesitation or any method. How many different way you can construct this path or sequence? The first one is you can start from A to B, complete B to C to E to F, and that should be the complete of project. Exactly for that reason, here we mention A, B, C, E, F, and the way of path is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8. The total duration to complete this way is 20, 10, 8, 7, and 6, that is 51 days. Okay, another way you can move from 1 to 8 is A to A. After completion of A you just complete B. After completion of B you just complete C. C. After completion of C you can complete E. After completion of E you can complete H. After completion of H you can complete I. So it's another path. So the total costing for this path is, and the movable path is 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8. This one is the total costing, and the total costing required is 63 days. Next one, another path, you can move from A to B. You can move from A to B, B to D, D to E. It's a dummy activity. D to E, E to D to E, E to F, and the completion. The total duration of this path is 20. So it's 20, 11, and this one is 0, this one is 7, and this one is 6. Exactly for that reason, here we calculate this result is 20, 11, 0, 7, 6, and the total completion of the time is 44 days. Okay, next one, we consider another path. We start from A, next we move to D, next the activity completed D, next move to E, E to H, E to H, H to I, and the completion of this. And the total path is 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, and the total duration is this. The summation of all this is 56 days. Okay, and the another path you can consider here is A to D, A to D, D to G, and G to I. The total duration is 20, 11, 12, and 5 is 48. The question is why we consider the critical path is 63. We have already mentioned the definition of critical path means it's the longest path. Okay, when we use the Dijkstra algorithm we always find the shortest path. Here we find, when we find the critical path, it's the longest path from a particular node to the another node. The question is why we consider the longest path, why we not consider the shortest path. একটা এক্সাম্পল দেওয়া যাক যেটা থেকে ক্লিয়ার হবে। ক্লাসে একটা অ্যাসাইনমেন্ট দেওয়া হয়েছে বিসিএতে, সেই অ্যাসাইনমেন্টে কেউ অ্যাসাইনমেন্টটা 3 দিনে করতে পারে, কেউ 5 ডেজে, কেউ 7 ডেজে, কেউ 9 ডেজে। And if we observe all the student activity, if you want to complete all the student activity, so in that case you have to consider the slowest student of your class, and this duration is the total duration to complete the full project. তার মানে আমি বিসিএ তে কোনো একটা অ্যাসাইনমেন্ট দিলে দেখা গেল যে কোনো একজন সে রাম এটা 3 দিনে কমপ্লিট করতে পারে, শ্যাম 5 দিনে পারে, কিন্তু মধু এটা কমপ্লিট করতে 11 ডেজ নেয়। তাহলে বিসিএ তে যদি 3 নাম্বার অফ ক্যান্ডিডেট থাকে, তাহলে আমি যদি 11 ডেজ দিই, ইট ইজ কনফার্ম দ্যাট এভরি স্টুডেন্ট শুড মেক দিস হোমওয়ার্ক কমপ্লিটলি উইদিন 11 days. Okay, exactly for that reason we find the critical path is the longest path. And when we mention the longest path, the diagram, That is the procedure for the longest path diagram. Here we mention the different approach. If we consider your green color, okay, because here we mentioned the path in red color. So this is your critical path, this is your critical path. So here we mention the critical path. A, after completion of A, you have to complete B. After completion of B, you have to complete C. After completion of C, you have to complete E. This one is this, and the last one is that one. That is the longest path. Okay, so it's the longest path, and you mark by when you solve this problem in your examination or practice book or any other place. You should bold, you should dark the line which represent that it's the critical path. Okay, so that is the way of construction of the critical part. But the most interesting thing is that if the design is so complicated, in that case you can find the so many different paths. Here the number of paths is only 1 2 3 4 5, so you can easily observe all the 5 path duration and find the highest duration path should be the critical path. But if the drawing is a critical drawing and they have say some 50 number of path, then it's very complicated to conduct this all the 50 path and then find the least path and chalk out the critical path and so on. It's very complicated. Exactly for that reason, when we find the critical path, we use the two different concepts. One is called the forward pass method, another one is called the backward pass method. In the next lecture, we move to learn the forward. How can I evaluate using forward pass method, and how can I evaluate using backward pass method, and how can I use the forward pass and backward pass to evaluate the critical path, and which activity is called the critical activity, and which effect when the critical activity is a delay, and how long, how delay the total completion of the project. In the next lecture we should learn this particular topic. So wait for the next lecture, and happy learning for everyone. Thank you for listening and watching.